So this isn't legal advice, but if you're gonna steal $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, maybe keep a low profile and don't do this.
Everyone worries too much about what's proper, but not roused, no shame, that don't stop her. Blindly following rules just for fools.
Yes, stealing billions of dollars in Bitcoin is a crime, but those rap videos are crimes against humanity. Yes, with the development of the internet and cryptocurrency, so too came the opportunity for spectacular criming. How spectacular? Well, criming in the dollar amount of
billions?
Enter one Heather Morgan, 31, and her Russian-born husband, Ilya Dutch Lichtenstein, 34, who have been charged by the Department of Justice with trying to launder an astounding $4.5 billion in stolen Bitcoins. This case is so captivating, not just because of the staggering dollar amounts or what the DOJ described as the alleged labyrinth of cryptocurrency transactions to launder the stolen funds, but what makes this case so headline-grabbing, well, the defendants are, to put it mildly, a bit out there. Lichtenstein calls himself a technology entrepreneur, coder, and investor, while his wife Morgan, well, I'll let Morgan introduce herself in her own words.
I'm many things. A rapper, an economist, a journalist, a writer, a CEO, and a dirty hoe.
In addition to being an irreverent comedic rapper using the stage name Razzlecon, yes, I am not making that up, Morgan is also self-described as, quote, a serial entrepreneur, because of course she is. And a former prolific contributor to Forbes magazine, she's even dubbed herself the crocodile of Wall Street for some reason. So today, let's think like a cybersecurity lawyer who may or may not make investment decisions based on dog memes. So we'll dive into the stunning indictment, examine the characters involved, and analyze the implications on the law and cryptocurrency in general, and determine if this isn't only the largest money laundering scheme in history, but also the cringiest. All right, so let's start with the indictment and the weirdos involved. Back in 2016, hackers stole 119,754 Bitcoins from the Bitfinex cryptocurrency exchange in Hong Kong. Since that hack, the value of those Bitcoins has skyrocketed from $72 million to an astounding $4.5 billion in 2022. For 6 years, those monies successfully evaded the grasp of law enforcement. Until now. On February 8th, 2022, the Justice Department announced the arrest of Ilya Lichtenstein and Heather Morgan from their New York high-rise apartment. In its statement on the arrest, the DOJ reported having successfully recovered 80% of the Bitcoin stolen from Bitfinex, or $3.6 billion, making it the largest financial seizure in history. Department officials also stated that they plan to establish a court process for victims seeking to reclaim their stolen Bitcoin. Lichtenstein and Morgan faced up to 20 years in prison for money laundering charges. In addition, the pair could receive an additional sentence of up to 5 years for the charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States. Now, for those of you who haven't had money laundering explained to them by Saul Goodman,
your filthy drug money has been transformed into nice, clean, taxable income brought to you by a savvy investment in a thriving business.
It refers to the act of making large amounts of money obtained by criminal activity appear to come from legal sources. And conspiracy to defraud the United States generally criminalizes the use of deception to cheat the government out of property or money, or to otherwise impair, obstruct, or defeat the lawful function of the government. Interestingly, the indictment does not allege that the pair are the ones who actually stole the money. It only alleges that an unknown hacker gave them the stolen Bitcoin, and that the couple attempted to launder the billions of dollars in crypto to evade law enforcement. Following their initial court appearance, the magistrate judge ruled that Lichtenstein could be released into home detention on a $5 million bond co-signed by his parents. The bond amount for Morgan was set at $3 million, but both parties were ordered to remain in custody until the bail conditions were met. Prosecutors opposed granting the defendants bail, claiming that they were significant flight risks. Prosecutors argued that just a portion of the billions of dollars in crypto that they stole or tried to launder could buy a new house or, quote, buy each of their parents a private island. Prosecutors further warned that Lichtenstein, who holds dual citizenship in the US and Russia, was a particular flight risk, as he could flee to Russia and seek immunity if he were no longer held in the United States custody. Federal District Judge Beryl Howell agreed with prosecutors and modified the magistrate's bail order accordingly. On February 14th, the judge revoked Lichtenstein's bail and ordered him to remain in jail pending trial. Judge Howell said that the government had deemed that Morgan was not as involved in planning the alleged crimes as her husband, and that Lichtenstein was largely in control of the funds himself. Judge Howell also considered Morgan's health issues as a factor, as she recently had surgery to remove a lump in her breast. With follow-up doctor's appointments expected, the court released Morgan into house arrest with a GPS ankle monitor. Now, I would be remiss not to take this opportunity to go into the storied background of Dutch and Razzle Khan. So before delving into the specifics of the indictment, which I should note are only allegations until proven true in a court of law, as the defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty, I want to give a little background on the couple that the New York Times has dubbed Bitcoin's Bonnie and Clyde. Now, Lichtenstein, who goes by the nickname Dutch, describes himself on his LinkedIn page as an angel investor in technology companies and an advisor to various startups. A Twitter account purportedly in his name posted frequently on cryptocurrency trends, the technology sector, and the evolution of NFTs. While Dutch seemed to stick to being your prototypical crypto bro, his wife Morgan jumped between being a self-described serial entrepreneur and, in her words, a quote, raunchy rapper making surrealist art. Morgan was also a frequent contributor to Forbes magazine, publishing more than 55 pieces between July 2017 and September 2021. Morgan also published articles on a variety of topics ranging from soul food served at the 2021 Met Gala, why women are better negotiators than men, and ironically, expert tips on protecting your business from cyber criminals.
It's not ironic, it's just coincidental.
And, I mean, in fairness, she probably knows more about hacking Bitcoin accounts than most people, so maybe she is an expert in this area. Now, Morgan is also a prolific presence on TikTok, rapping under the name Razzle Khan. According to her website, she's, quote, like Genghis Khan, but with more pizzazz. She also characterizes herself as basically a mix of Hunter S. Thompson and Diane Arbus with a sprinkle of Tom Green. And yeah, I mean, I guess she's not completely wrong about that. And look, it's easy to make fun, but all art is subjective, and it's really not anyone's place to judge art as good or bad.
What? Razzle dazzle, living in a glass castle. Don't with no hassle.
Okay, I take it back. If the pair is found guilty, I really hope that the judge issues an injunction preventing Miss Morgan from ever rapping again. And also request that Miss Morgan pay restitution to my eyes and ears for all the videos I've watched in preparing for this video. Yeah. Now, let's get on to the complaint itself and on to the whole issue of laundering billions of dollars in stolen cryptocurrency. Now, in the statement announcing the arrest, here's how the DOJ summarized the defendant's alleged money laundering scheme. The criminal complaint alleges that Lichtenstein and Morgan employed numerous sophisticated laundering techniques, including using fictitious identities to set up online accounts, utilizing computer programs to automate the transactions, a laundering technique that allows for many transactions to take place in a short period of time, depositing the stolen funds into accounts at a variety of virtual currency exchanges and darknet markets. Basically, they would often try to convert Bitcoin into other forms of virtual currency and other real tangible assets, including anonymity-enhanced virtual currency, in a practice known as chain hopping, and using US-based business accounts to legitimize their banking activity. According to Jim Lee of the IRS Criminal Investigation, they conducted a methodical and calculated scheme to allegedly launder and disguise their vast fortune. And here's how the government says that they did it. In or around August of 2016, a hacker breached the Bitfinex security system and infiltrated its infrastructure. Once in the network, the unidentified hacker was able to initiate over 2,000 unauthorized Bitcoin transactions, resulting in 119,754 Bitcoins being transferred from Bitfinex wallets to an unidentified outside wallet controlled by the defendants. Now, if you read the actual complaint, you'd be shocked to see how little of the billions of dollars in Bitcoin was actually laundered and spent. In fact, about 80% of the nearly 120,000 stolen Bitcoin, the 3.6 billion that the government recovered, was found in exactly the same crypto wallet into which they were originally deposited. As for the remaining 20%, well, starting in January of 2017, defendants allegedly began moving some of the stolen Bitcoins out of the original wallet through a series of small and complex transactions across multiple accounts and platforms. Now, one of those accounts that the Bitcoin was funneled into was the Alpha Bay marketplace, a prominent darknet market that was shut down in 2017 by the FBI working in conjunction with international law enforcement. Now, the defendants used a high number of very small transactions to conceal the path of the stolen Bitcoin and avoid law enforcement for years. So the $3.6 billion question is, how did the defendants get caught? Well, it was a mix of good old-fashioned police work, due diligence from the private sector, and the public nature of the blockchain itself. Oh, and the most helpful element in any investigation, really stupidly sloppy mistakes from the alleged criminals. Because on January 31st, 2022, law enforcement gained lawful access to Dutch's cloud storage pursuant to a search warrant. Law enforcement decrypted a single file in Dutch's cloud storage that contained a list of 2,000 virtual currency addresses, along with the corresponding private keys to open all of those wallets. That's not surprising because one of the most tedious things about cryptocurrency is keeping track of all your accounts and private keys. And that's hard for even people that have stolen billions of dollars in crypto coins. Analyzing the public blockchain records, the feds confirmed that those addresses came from the 2016 hack, because the blockchain is completely public. Now, in the days that followed, the feds obtained seizure warrants and used those private keys contained in Dutch's file to seize over $3.6 billion in Bitcoin and place them into the government's possession. Also discovered in Dutch's cloud, a folder entitled Personas that included biographical info and documents on numerous individuals, a file entitled Passport Ideas with links to darknet sites selling fake passports, and a folder with potential financial institutions to launder the money, which described Alpha Bank as a, quote, sketchy Russian oligarch bank, which is definitely not wrong. And not only that, but Dutch's apartment also contained a bag labeled burner phones. You know, it really makes law enforcement's job a lot easier when suspects properly categorize their crimes and pre-label the evidence ahead of their arrest. It's really considerate. Now, the private sector, aided by government regulation, was also instrumental in halting some of the defendants' illegal activities. Currency exchanges are regulated by the Treasury Department, which requires such institutions to establish anti-money laundering AML programs and KYC, know your customer protocols, to make it harder for anonymous users to transfer money. In one example of the system working, the defendants allegedly set up 7 Alpha Bay accounts and 6 from an established exchange to hold $186,000 in Bitcoin under false names. However, following these verification protocols, exchanges were unable to verify defendants' identities or prove that they own the accounts. So the accounts were frozen. And despite the setbacks, defendants did successfully launder some of those Bitcoins out of third-party exchanges. And according to the indictment, defendants used their ill-gotten gains to pay for relatively benign items such as Uber rides, Hotel.com stays, a PlayStation, NFTs, a $500 Walmart gift card, and even gold. But the defendants' alleged sloppiness, which allegedly bordered on stupidity, continued to hinder their efforts at money laundering, while also at the same time helping law enforcement to track them down. The gold that Dutch purchased with stolen Bitcoin? Well, he purchased it from an online currency exchange account, which he verified with his real driver's license, which he sent with a selfie-style photograph. And he registered that to his real email address, and then Dutch had the gold shipped to his real home address at the time in San Francisco. Then again, I guess this is exactly what one might expect from someone who kept the keys to $3.6 billion in cryptocurrency in one cloud file, or who married Morgan. Now, Morgan's less than genius behavior also raised some red flags. In response to one currency exchange asking follow-up questions about the origins of the tens of thousands of dollars in digital assets that were to be deposited into Morgan's newly created business account, Morgan gave the following not at all suspicious answer, quote, "My boyfriend, now husband, gifted me cryptocurrency over several years, 2014, 2015, which have appreciated. I have been keeping them in cold storage." That obviously cagey answer is the money laundering equivalent of "my boyfriend, why, he goes to a different school in Canada. You wouldn't know him." Another red flag? Well, the Wall Street Journal reports that a friend of Miss Morgan's noted how she and her husband's lifestyle did not match their purported wealth. While planning to buy a $2 million condo in New York, the defendants had a modest wedding and the couple used airline miles to fly. You know, just like the rest of us. Now, maybe the best part about this entire case is that whether you are a crypto skeptic or a crypto booster, there's plenty of material for both camps. Crypto critics have often noted that less than desirable groups like white supremacists have embraced crypto as a means of evading law enforcement and avoiding legal judgments. Furthermore, in 2021, it marked an all-time high of $14 billion in cryptocurrency theft, with the innocent suffering the brunt of the consequences. And of course, the Bitfinex hack and subsequent money laundering only reinforces critics' argument that cryptocurrency is not just ripe for criminal conduct, but is also not nearly as secure and unhackable as its boosters claim. But at the same time, crypto advocates show that the blockchain's secure technology is working exactly as intended. In the words of crypto boosters, it's further proof that the nature of the blockchain, and it being always public, allows investigators to follow the money in ways that would be impossible in complex webs of shell companies and cash smugglings that exist with normal financial tools. Crypto advocates argue that the public nature of blockchain technology not only serves as self-regulating an anti-fraud measure, but that the global blockchain ledger allows police to track down the stolen cryptocurrency in ways that would not be possible with fiat money. Bloomberg columnist Matt Levine highlights this inherent contradiction perfectly as usual, saying, quote, "You might think that a federal criminal indictment for $4.5 billion of Bitcoin money laundering would be vindication of the Bitcoin is for money launderers side. But I want to tell you, no, it is not. What allegedly happened here is that hackers stole 4.5 billion of Bitcoin from a crypto exchange, and stealing from exchanges absolutely is a major function of crypto, and then they had a horrible time laundering it. They managed to extract only a relatively small portion of the money for actual spending, and each time they got money out, the feds were able to trace it from the hack all the way to legitimate accounts with their names on it." Matt Levine goes on to analogize, "If you rob a bank and steal a sack of money and the bills are sequentially numbered, and a dye pack explodes in the sack and you drive directly to another bank and hand them a dye-stained sack and say, 'I'd like to make a deposit, please,' you will totally get arrested, and you will probably get charged with money laundering. But in no meaningful sense did you launder the money. It still has the dye on it." That's what happened here. And as another crypto expert said, the problem with laundering cryptocurrency is that if you make a mistake 5 years ago, that's still on the blockchain for everyone to see. But I guess one thing that we can all agree is that whatever your take on cryptocurrency, remember that talking about it constantly does not make you cool. Now, admittedly, we've all had our fun and engaged in a whole bunch of schadenfreude over Razzlecon and Dutch. But you know what goes well with schadenfreude? A nice glass of wine. And you can get the perfect bottle with today's sponsor, Bright Cellars. Bright Cellars is a delightful service that helps you find new, fun wines from all over the world. It doesn't matter if you know absolutely nothing about wine, just go to brightcellars.com and take their 7-question quiz. Now, I like big, bold reds, and if we're being pedantic, and obviously we are, because this is LegalEagle, I like left bank Bordeaux's and Cabernets from Paso Robles. But you don't need to know any of that. You just need to tell them what kind of flavors you like, whether you like reds or whites or both, and tell them how adventurous you are, and they'll do the rest for you. Bright Cellars will match you with several great bottles and deliver them straight to your house. You get great stuff from all over the world, and I got stuff I never would have found on my own, like this Folk and Fable Cabernet from Santa Rosa, California, and this French Mise en Abîme from near Bordeaux. And I love that there are wine education cards included so you learn about what you're drinking to better articulate what you like, or just fool your wine snob friends. And right now, Bright Cellars is offering viewers 50% off their first box. That's 6 bottles of wine for only $53. That's crazy value, and you're guaranteed to love what you get. Just click on the link that's on screen right now or down below in the description to take the quiz. You get half off your first box, and you'll be supporting this channel. Or you can click on this playlist over here for the rest of my educational-ish videos. So click here, or I'll see you in court.